Okay.
All right.
All right. Hey, this is Winnie Wilkinson, host of Hey Neighbor Hey. And today we have our First Lady, first of all, the First Lady of St. Albans, Vermont, Ms. Denise Smith, who is also the CEO of Vermont
Council
Council of Rural Affairs.
Development.
Rural Development. I didn't do my research on that name.
okay.
And I just want to introduce you. It's a new program in this area. And so she's going to talk about the program, the need for the program in this area, and what it does, and any upcoming events or anything that you can do to contribute to this wonderful program in the area. I now introduce to you Denise Smith.
Thank you, Winnie.
You're welcome.
It's nice to be here today. You want me to just start?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, I guess it's very nice to be here today. Thank you for inviting me onto your show. I've heard a lot about this show, and I'm very excited to be here.
Okay,
So
great.
really appreciate you inviting me.
Yes,
So the first thing you mentioned is the First Lady of St. Albans. So that's only because my husband is the mayor, the
Yeah.
current mayor of the
Right.
city, which is an elected position.
Right.
And he does a great job, and I'm there to support him. So
Yes.
thank you for mentioning that. And my new role in my work life, I also have a lot of other hats that I wear, as many people in Vermont do.
Yeah.
My new role is as the executive director of the Vermont Council on Rural Development, also known as VCRD.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit, nonpartisan, based in Montpelier, Vermont. And it was
okay.
started in 1992,
Okay.
originally as part of the Governor Dean's administration.
Oh.
And then in 97, it became its own 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay.
And the work, the vision, the mission of the Vermont Council on Rural Development is to help support rural communities across the state. And we do that in many different ways, which I'll talk about in a minute. But we support rural communities across the state, as well as are focused on policies, programs, and convenings that help support rural Vermont as a whole state. So that's what I do. The council, like I said, was started in '92 and has had different leadership. And I'm the newest executive director, and I started there about 6 months ago.
Yes.
So this is good timing.
Yes.
I feel like I'm finally getting my feet underneath me and,
Yeah.
and understand the programs and the job a little bit better.
Yeah. But I must also let you know that Denise was also at the hospital, and she did the hospital here in St. Albans, Northwestern Medical Center, and she did a wonderful job there. And every time I go to the hospital now, I'm so accustomed seeing her that I'm still looking, and I'm like, oh, she's no longer here. So Denise has been in the community for a long time and understands the community as well. And I am just anxious, just as I'm sure that you will also be, to know more about how this program works and what we can expect as rural Vermont be more involved in this program.
Yeah. So you mentioned Northwestern Medical Center. I was there for about 7 years as the Director of Population Health, was the last role that I held there. And that was really about supporting Vermont's rural people, I think individuals, in better access to health, whether it's primary care or specialty care, but also improving communities so that they can respond to the needs of rural Vermonters. The health data statistics on rural America is not great.
Yes.
So there's a lot of work being done, I think, right now on public health and rural health in the nation nationally, and Vermont is no exception.
Yes.
And so really thinking about how we design communities to make them more responsive to the people that live there,
Yes.
and create that environment, the ecosystem that people are living in to help support the health outcomes of people in those rural communities. And while I was doing that work at the hospital, and prior to that in my community and economic development work, I worked really closely with the Vermont Council on Rural Development.
Oh.
What the Vermont Council on Rural Development does, and I think we've done 6 or 8 communities now in Franklin County, but we do this throughout the state, is we do what's called a community visit.
Okay.
And the community visit process is a 3-month process that we, the council, engages with a town at a micro level, I call it, right? So we're working with this small community. Our role is to come in as the facilitator.
Oh.
The community's role is to work with us in identifying priorities, how they, in developing a plan, in developing a vision, and then we work to bring resources to them so that they can do the action items that they've identified in their plan. Our work is very much rooted in community engagement, and the team that I've inherited, I guess I would say, because they're really incredible at this work, but the team that I've inherited that does the community visit program, and that's the program that we're most known for, is so incredible at public process, community engagement, listening, deep listening to every community member, and then ensuring that we're really reaching out to everybody in the community. Not everybody feels comfortable going to a public meeting in a school or in the town hall. And so our job is really to kind of reach into the community and find people, whether it's youth, people of different nationalities, or different races, whether it's, if there's a large Abenaki population there, making sure that we have that connection to the Native Americans, whatever it is.
Do you work with the migrant workers as well?
We will invite migrants. We invite everybody. So that's really one of our processes is we invite everybody. And if there is a migrant population that's pretty large, we will reach out to them. And so we work really intentionally, I guess I would say, to ensure that we get all of the voices in the community that are heard. And then from there, we work with the community to help them. It's all them. They drive the process. They drive the decisions. We're really helping to facilitate and reflect back what it is that they want. And then we typically come up with 2 or 3 action items that they want to work on. The third visit, so it's 3 visits total over 3 months. And the third visit is where we bring our resources, state, federal, local, that might be able to support whatever action. And we create a team of people in that community that are going to work on that action item, or they create it. They volunteer. It's all volunteer driven, right?
Yeah.
And so they create that team of people that are going to work on the action item or the project that they've identified.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Same, and having the community involved.
Yes.
And not with a badge.
Yeah.
I think you get more into the meat and gravy.
Yeah.
I'm talking like a mother now.
Yeah,
the
you are.
Meat and gravy of what what our community need, because in the final analysis, we all have to coexist to exist.
Yes.
On whatever level of life we are at, we still have to coexist to exist. And so I really appreciate you giving us that information. So is there anything upcoming for Franklin County that we should be looking out for?
We are not working in Franklin County right now. We just did Franklin this past summer. So we were actually they were wrapping up the Franklin community visit process as I was kind of entering in the fall.
Okay.
So that was our last Franklin County. Right now we're working in the town of Roxbury, which is in central Vermont.
Oh, up
Yep.
there's nearby Springfield?
No, it's near Montpelier, actually. It's like 20 minutes away from Montpelier. small little town.
Yeah.
It's, it's one of those towns that you're like, Roxbury, where's Roxbury?
Yeah.
But it's right there. It's in the hills.
Yeah.
It's got a state national forest right there, a state forest right in their town. It's kind of on the other side of,
Montpelier?
It's right next to Montpelier, but it's on the other side of like the Sugar Bush Mountain Range.
Oh, in that area.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Sunderland is where we're going after that.
Okay.
So that's more south.
Yeah.
And then New Haven is the next community.
There's a New Haven in Vermont?
New Haven, Vermont. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So there's like 263 towns in Vermont. VCRD at this point has done over 90 community visits throughout the state.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other thing, I just want to like touch upon a couple other things that we do. So that's like our big program. We have a lot of resources that go into it. We do a ton of community engagement. It's a community-driven process, which it has to be for the community to rally around projects so that anything gets done. And as we know in Franklin County, you are a perfect example of this, is nothing really ever gets done without volunteers.
Yep.
And the importance of people and leaders in communities that are needed to move projects, process, ideas, new ways of thinking forward, right? Yeah. And so one of the things that I love about our organization is we have so one of the things that we do is we coach the people that stand up and say, I'm going to do that. I'll help with that action team.
Oh, so you do give training.
So, and most people are volunteers, so they might have a job, they might be home with their kids during the day, whatever, but they might need help or support around leadership, around how to get things done, how to write a grant, those types of things. So that's one thing that we offer after the community visit, or even if you did a community visit 5 years ago, you can come back to us and be like, hey, VCRD, we need help with this. Can you come and support us? And what's resulted in that, which I think is really exciting, is we've created the Vermont Community Leadership Network.
Okay.
It is a free network. Anybody can sign up. There's a newsletter that goes out every other month, so we don't inundate you with a lot of information.
Okay.
And we host webinars.
Oh, very good.
Our upcoming webinar is next Thursday on the federal transition and the impact to small rural communities.
Oh, is it and it's virtual, you said, right?
It's a virtual virtual webinar.
Okay, so can you give us the website or how to join?
Yeah. I mean, if you go to vtrural.org, so it's just VTRURAL.org, and you go into our programs, and you'll see the Vermont Community Leadership Network. We also might have I'd have to go back and look, but I think we might have a place to just click right on the front page of the website.
Okay.
And you just put in your information, and it's a Zoom, so anybody can join. It'll be about an hour and a half, and we have people coming from economic development, from community development, from municipalities, and healthcare, public health, coming to talk to. They're going to be on the panel.
Okay.
I'm going to preface this by saying we don't have all the answers.
Yeah, I know.
They don't have all the answers, but it's really about bringing people together, connecting, asking what people are thinking about, where they're spending their time and energy, what impact, how it's impacting them. And then what we're really thinking about at VCRD right now is, how do we, what does Vermont stand for, right? How do we look forward a little bit beyond this transition and what's happening?
The chaos, beyond the chaos.
Yeah, like what does Vermont stand for? Again, we're a neutral, nonpartisan organization. And we know that some people are very happy about what's happening right now in our state, and support the transition and the federal government in what they're doing. And so what we want to have a positive conversation about, like, okay, this is happening, but who is Vermont? What do we stand for, and what do we look like, right? What is our future going to be? And so that's sort of like when I talked about the statewide convening pieces, that's like sort of like the tenor of those conversations. We really look at positive, meaningful connection across differences, because that's what we do. That's what we're good at. That's what we facilitate. We bring people together throughout communities throughout Vermont that have differing opinions and perspectives. And what we arrive at is typically these incredible shared values.
Yes.
That Vermonters all hold near and dear.
Yes.
And one of them I just think about because I'm working on it right now is the working lands of our state.
Yes.
You know, the forest and the farmlands, the open lands in our communities. And not only are they good for climate resilience, they're also good for like our spirit and our joy in our state, right? And so it's a shared value that we have that also benefits clean water, clean air, climate resilience, but also like is celebratory. It helps us celebrate our state. So Working Lands is a program that VCRD has been working on for about 12 years now. And what we do is we host the coalition, the Working Lands Coalition, and the Working Lands Partnership. And those two groups are designed to help support funding that goes to our forest and farm entrepreneurs in the state, and that the grants actually run out of the Agency of Ag. Our role is to ensure that the legislature and the governor support it with some funding, and so that's been a really fun project for me to jump into. I'd done so much work on working lands and water and climate work when I was with Friends of Northern Lake Champlain. And so having this kind of like new lens of really thinking about how do we support our ag and forest businesses in this state, because the working lands won't be there if we don't have a way to create ecosystem services off of them, right? And so being able to fund for which many Franklin County businesses have received some of that working lands funding. I was and have valued it so much. It typically goes to a business that's pivoting, like if they want to add a cheese manufacturing to their dairy business or something like that, to make them more sustainable. I just met with somebody who's in the forestry industry. And they did it. They do education and they bought computers with some of that working lands funding for their woodworking school. Anyways, I'm talking a lot.
No, that's okay. You're giving information.
But that's another aspect of the position or of the role that the Vermont Council on Rural Development plays in the state.
Okay, and what about like for in our case here, Lake Champlain with the green stuff that comes
blue green algae.
Yes. Is there any way you think that would be in the radar soon to help facilitate some kind of cleanup or?
So there's a lot of work that's gone on. I mean, when I was with Friends of Northern Lake Champlain about 8 or 9 years ago now, there's been a lot of efforts and energies put into that, and we were able to pass a clean water bill. There's funding now for that from the state and also the Lake Champlain Basin Program. And a lot of it is actually working with landowners, farmers, and foresters. But we do know that farm and forestry is better to have in our waterways in different areas than a lot of developed land. And so really protecting the working lands is very important, as well as thinking about, and we can't think about this as an if, then, that, or this again. We can't pit housing against conservation. Right. We really have to think about this, or like community development and economic development against the environment. We have to think about like how this all works together in the different watersheds and the different systems that we have. And so that's one thing that we're often thinking about as well. But the compact development of small towns, villages, which is where we do a lot of our work, and then with the expanse of the open working lands around it, and the importance of that kind of ecosystem working together. So it kind of brings back that whole idea of like working across difference and working across communities.
Yes, and bringing the knowledge, because a lot of what you're saying, I'm having teachable moments because I didn't know much about this. So, and I'm sure when this video goes out, other people will have teachable moments as well. So, another thing is that how can the community be involved?
I will tell you this. So we have I haven't mentioned 2 other programs that I'm just going to touch upon right now. Well, actually 3. And then I'll tell the viewers how to reach out if they're interested. So we also oversee a program called the Climate Economy program. And the Climate Economy program has 3 different aspects to it. And one is actually about to be launched right now, which is our Catalyst Leadership Program, which brings together Vermonters from across the state that want to work on a climate project for their community. And we give them 10 months of a cohort-style leadership program that's facilitated. And the idea is that the project that they're working on is part of the conversation when they're meeting with the other leaders throughout the state. So that's super exciting. It's super fun work. And we typically get like 15 to 20 people that participate, and I think this will be our 6th cohort of people. So if anybody's interested, if you're doing any kind of climate projects, the press release should be coming out in the next couple of days, but we're looking for our next cohort. The other piece that we do there is we have an innovation fund. So one of the things I did not know was that the e-bikes at the St. Albans Library, they have e-bikes that you can rent, that you can take out with your library card at the St. Albans Library. And those were funded through an innovation grant. I think you actually have to go to the bike store on Main Street. You'd have to call the library and find out. But those were funded through an innovation grant. They're anywhere from $500 to $4,000 that you can get on these climate catalyst innovation grants, I think we call them. And we do that. We just did our last round in the fall, but we typically fund, I think we funded like 60 projects across the state last year. So it's a really great program. It funds all kinds of different programs. We've done like tool sharing sheds. We've funded anything that might, you say climate, but it's anything really that has to do with like environment or community. But the e-bikes now in St. Albans Library, you can actually take out of the library because of the fund that funded those 2 bikes.
That is good.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. And then we also do basically any community that might have been hit recently by flooding or those types of, so we just did a resilience Reimagine Johnson, actually again when I first came in, and so we do all types of kind of work with communities on helping them kind of pick themselves back up, figure out like what's important, maybe think about like how they might do things differently in their community. We work with them on like whatever project that they might be thinking about, and we'll come in and help facilitate the conversation. We'll meet with community leaders, and we'll hope the idea is that we get them to action, right? So we get them from like this place of ideas to action. So that's the climate economy. The other one is the Village Trust Initiative. And that's our we have so much going on. It's crazy. But the Village Trust Initiative is another partnership that we've launched with PTV, which is Preservation Trust of Vermont, and Vermont Community Foundation, where it's an application process. And again, another application is about to open. I mean, I really encourage that some Franklin County towns that I know you have maybe a building in the middle of your town that you don't know what to do with, and you need visioning and help and support and a community process around. The Village Trust Initiative is the program that you can apply for. The towns have to be under 2,500 people, so no bigger than 2,500 people. So it's really for our very small Vermont towns, our very small Vermont towns.
Which town in Franklin County is under 2,000?
Under 2,500, I think Franklin, maybe Berkshire, like those, right? Like, when you think about a small town, those are the sizes that we're looking for that might have a building or a project that they're looking to do. And the emphasis is on building a community trust. So a group of volunteers that want to work on something together. And we have 7 towns that we're working in right now, and we're putting out an application to pick 4 more. By the end of 5 years, we're going to have done 20 towns throughout the state of Vermont.
I think Alberg, there's not a lot going on. How many people in Alberg do you know?
I don't know how many people in Alberg. I think it goes up in the summer, so I don't know.
I don't think they more than 2005. But because with doing all the volunteer work in town, if the person have to do any like volunteer work, they can't do it in Alberg because there's nothing to do. So I think Alberg come to mind when you say that. So maybe
Yeah.
you could start looking, at
Alberg
other
is,
leaders.
my understanding is Alberg is about to get a new childcare center. So I think
Yes.
they just broke ground on that. So that's
Yes,
exciting. So that
that
takes
excited.
volunteers and leaders to get
Yes.
that through. Anyway, so we're really excited about the VTI program, Village Trust Initiative, and there is going to be an application that's being launched. I'll make sure that I get information to you on that. It's not out
Yeah,
yet,
and we
but
could
will
always
be-
put it
will
on the
be coming.
YouTube channel as
Yep.
information. Well, I had some teachable moments. Didn't even realize that was here and even here, but in such a vast variety of different people coming together
Yeah.
for the rural Vermont. So that is wonderful, and I guess we working together, and again coming and giving information is how we get the information out, and that you won't just assume, oh, another this, or oh, another that. Get to know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that is what this show is all about. We want to be a capitalist of getting the correct information out to the community, to get the community together, and each person have a niche. So what is happening now? They may but then what you said today, I'm sure there's going to be so. Oh, I can do that. And do you have a lot of young people involved in this process?
Yeah, so that is a great question, Winnie, and that
Okay.
is something that I think a lot of organizations are thinking about and working on. We are
Yeah.
an old Vermont organization. Again, we've been around for a long time. Last year in 2023, we did a Vermont Youth Initiative.
Okay.
It was called the Youth Opportunity Initiative, and we went around and did focus groups in most of Vermont, all around the state, to find out from youth like what's working, what's not working. What opportunities would you like to be taking advantage of that you can't because of what the barriers? And so we created a report out of that and
Oh, very
identified
good.
some very key strategies and action items that the state could be taking. One of the things that we learned, because we worked with a partner who uses youth facilitators, many of them from BFA, in fact, because we have a great, strong leadership team in our BFA high school, was that adults need to be retrained on how to work and include youth and youth voice in our processes. And they are so smart. I'm reminded of this every day with my own kids. I have 3
Yes.
teenagers right now, and they are so
God
smart.
bless your soul.
I know, and they're so connected, and they understand so much. And we sometimes put them aside and don't bring them into the conversation soon enough. And so one of the things VCRD is working on right now, as we kind of come out of this Youth Opportunity Initiative and the symposium we just had, is how do we, even as an organization, do a better job at including youth voice in our work, is one. And then 2 is really how do we then also help municipalities and schools and other organizations better understand how to include youth and youth voice in their processes. And it's not just about, oh, we have a seat on our board for a youth person, for a young person, or we have, it's more about like, how do you integrate their thinking and their design and their ideas, and not in an extractive way or like a.
And how you could communicate with them, because having a meeting, sitting in a room is not going to.
That's
not going to
there,
flow
right?
there. But
Yeah, right.
doing a Zoom, doing
Right.
a Facebook
Right.
Live, doing
Right.
whatever.
Yes.
That is how you
Yes.
have to communicate and get that group
Yes.
together.
Yes. So those are all things that we're thinking about, and we're actually, that's our plan for 2025, is to work on doing a better job internally as an organization across all of our programs, but also developing some trainings just from what we've all learned at VCRD, helping to train other people and organizations on how to do the same thing. It's an effort. I mean, I have to tell you, and it's because our systems are designed to exclude people, not include them.
Yes.
And so we're really being mindful and
Yes.
thinking about all of that.
Yes.
The last thing I just want to mention, because it's really important and it's coming up in August,
Okay.
is we're hosting our Vermont Leadership Summit in Randolph. Again, we do this every year.
The college, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
at
I
the,
heard
at
about
the,
that. Yeah.
at the state or the university, the Vermont State University, the Randolph campus, which used to be Vermont Technical College, VTC. We're hosting our leadership summit on August 11th.
Okay.
It's an all-day event, and it brings self-identified, so you don't have to have a leader is anybody, right?
Yeah, oh,
you don't
yeah.
have to have a self-identified or you don't have to be elected to a select board or a
Yeah.
planning commission or appointed. You can say, I'm a leader in my community,
Yeah.
and I want to come to this summit. And so we make it very accessible from a financial perspective. We're trying to include more online
Yes.
forums so people can join virtually.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a really fun day to go to in person as
Yeah.
well. And we have a series of workshops throughout the day. I think what did they tell me the other day? It's like 80. I mean, so many 30
Yeah.
workshops or something,
Yeah.
plus like a big plenary in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's where you get to meet a lot of people and see what else is happening around Vermont.
Yes. Well, we will definitely put that on our YouTube channel. And today, this has been awesome information that I was not aware of, and I'm sure that other people have teachable moments. And this is our 10th segment of Hey Neighbor Hey, a local TV show in the town in the city of St. Albans, Vermont. And we just sit around and we talk about things in the community, how we can improve getting everyone in our community feeling part of, so that we all could coexist to exist. Thank you for tuning in. One love. Peace out.